Hi, welcome to AMI Day 20. Last week, we were looking a little bit at the case of Brown versus Board of Education. It was decided in 1954. So if you need a refresher of that, if you did that work maybe early last week, you might go back to AMI Day 19 and watch the overview video that's linked in there. So this week, we're going to start looking at our Arkansas focus for this unit because Brown versus Board of Education had a really massive impact on our state and kind of local history, even though it's Little Rock and not Hardy, but we'll make do, I think. So we're going to look this week at how the choices people make individually and collectively affect society. And in this case, the society of focus is actually a high school. So before we want you to think about your first day of school at a new school. So some of you that might be when you transferred to a different district or a different school. And for some of you that might be like your first day of ninth grade, right? That first day you're entering high school. So how did you expect that day to go, your very first day? What things were you afraid of? Were there things you were looking forward to, like seeing friends or new classes? What sort of steps did you take to prepare for the day? From picking out that perfect outfit to fixing your hair, doing whatever you needed to do to be ready. Um, as you left that first day at 3:30, what sort of things surprised you about the experience? So today we're going to be thinking about first days, but we're going to think about the first day of school for the very first group of African American students to attend Central High School in Little Rock. So let's get our background, right? In 1955, a guy named Virgil Blossom, he's the superintendent of schools in Little Rock, announced a plan to integrate the schools gradually, beginning in 1957 with Central High. That's one of the three high schools in the city. The other two are Horace Mann, which is a high school for African American students, and Hall High School, a new all white school that's located in a well to do section of the city. Neither Horace Mann nor Hall was scheduled for immediate integration. As required by law, the school board sent Blossom's plan to a federal district court for approval. Despite challenges from African Americans who wanted to speed up the process and white Americans who wanted to stop it, the court approved the plan, and by the summer of 1957, school officials had selected 17 African American students from over 200 applicants for enrollment at Central High. School officials rejected many of the applicants because their grades were not high enough. Others are rejected because officials didn't think they could handle the pressure of being a small minority in a school that was overwhelmingly white. The plan called for the enrollment of fewer than 17 African American students in a school attended by about 2,000 white students. Still, other African American students dropped out on their own after the superintendent told them they would not be allowed to participate in sports or any other extracurricular activity. As resistance to integration became more vocal in the summer of 1957 in Little Rock and elsewhere, a number of parents withdrew their children out of fear for their safety. By the time the school opened, only 9 African American students were prepared to attend Central High School. Minnie Jean Brown, Elizabeth Eckford, Ernest Green, Thelma Mothershed, Melba Patillo, Gloria Ray, Terrence Roberts, Jefferson Thomas, and Carlotta Walls. Despite the talk on TV and the radio and in the newspapers, the Little Rock Nine did not believe that integration would lead to violence in Little Rock. Ernest Green recalls there hadn't been any trouble expected, given the fact that there had been other schools in Arkansas that had been integrated, Fort Smith, Arkansas, and some others. The buses in Little Rock had been desegregated without any problem. The library was integrated, the medical school and the law school at the university had admitted some blacks. So there was an expectation that there would be minimal problems, but nothing major that would put Little Rock on the map. The first indication that I had of it was the night before we would go to school, the Labor Day Monday night. Governor Orville Faubus came on TV and indicated that he was calling out the Arkansas National Guard to prevent our entrance into Central because of what he thought were threats to our lives. He was doing it for our own protection. Even at that time, that was his line. He said that the troops would be out in front of the school and they would bar our entrance to Central for our protection, as well as for the protection and tranquility of the city. After hearing Governor Faubus on television, Blossom asked the Little Rock Nine to stay home Tuesday morning while he sought guidance from U.S. District Judge Ronald N. Davies. The judge ordered the school board to proceed with integration as planned. The Little Rock Nine were to report to Central High the next day, Wednesday, September 4th. Fearful for their safety, Daisy Bates, the president of the Arkansas NAACP, suggested that they come to school as a group. She planned to ask religious leaders in the city to accompany them. 15-year-old Elizabeth Eckford knew nothing of the plan. In her haste, Daisy Bates had forgotten to get word to her. So early Wednesday morning, Eckford ironed the dress she had made for her first day at Central High, said goodbye to her worried parents, and set off for school alone. When Eckford reached Central High, she found herself surrounded by an angry crowd that taunted and threatened her as she tried to enter the building. The soldiers who guarded the building turned her away. Unsure of what to do and terrified of the mob, Eckford quickly headed for a bus stop, even as the crowd continued to scream and jeer. So, for today, we're going to look a little more in depth at Elizabeth Eckford's story of her first day attempting to enter Central High. And we're also going to maybe try to identify who some of the other major players in this are, right? And reflect a little bit on what it means to be a bystander or an upstander. So, someone who just kind of observes, right? Or someone who makes a good choice, or maybe just a participant, right? Someone who joins in with what everyone else is doing, right? Hope you're all well. See you tomorrow.